The United States has withdrawn its membership on the UN Human Rights Council, calling the organisation an enabler of human rights abuse. The decision has been confirmed by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and the US ambassador to the United Nations. The day before, the head of the council had criticised the US policy of separating migrant parents from their children, calling it unconscionable and similar to child abuse. Washington feels the UN body has too many members who lack a serious commitment to human rights.
For too long, the Human Rights Council has been a protector of human rights abusers and a cesspool of political bias. Regrettably, it is now clear that our call for reform was not heeded. Human rights abusers continue to serve on and be elected to the Council. The world's most inhumane regimes continue to escape scrutiny, and the Council continues politicizing and scapegoating of countries with positive human rights records in an attempt to distract from the abusers in their ranks. Therefore, as we said we would do a year ago, if we did not see any progress, the United States is officially withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council.
I'm joined now by Awol Allo, a professor of law at Keele University in the UK. Professor, thank you for joining us. The US sees this decision as taking a stand, as doing the right thing in the face of all of this criticism, but you believe it's actually shirking its role as a leader of values like human rights. Why is that?
Absolutely. The US played a very significant role in setting up these organizations, in creating some of the key international norms around human rights, multilateral organizations, so that there will be a rules-based international legal order. What we see now is a retreat of the United States under the Trump administration from its traditional role as a defender and enabler of these institutions and these values. So if the Human Rights Council, as the United States is currently saying, is a hypocritical organization that has a lot of countries that are not committed to human rights and abuse human rights, it's precisely because the US's position itself is quite hypocritical. We can see that the US have acted in certain situations when it is consistent with its political interest to defend human rights, but there are other times when human rights issues were simply ignored, and in fact the US in some cases enabled highly authoritarian regimes. So this is again, I think, very much part of the US's retreat from its global role, which was preceded by its withdrawal from the Paris Accord and the Iran deal. But also, I think, very much consistent with this political use of human rights and ideas around a democracy. When you suit them, they will use it. When it doesn't suit their interests, then they invoke it in a way that is not consistent with human rights. So this is not really a defense of human rights. This is rather a political use of human rights.
This move doesn't significantly affect the work of the Human Rights Council, though, does it?
I don't think it would affect the... This is mainly a political body. What it does is kind of name and shame countries, and it doesn't have a particularly powerful enforcement mechanism. The only enforcement mechanism it has is that in very exceptional situations, referring human rights situations to the General Assembly and the Security Council, and therefore those major institutions, those principal organs of the United Nations would take either enforcement measures or other types of measures. And obviously, the US would continue to be part of the Security Council, and it would use its influence and its leverage within both organizations to advance its policies. So from a human rights point of view, I don't think it would have a significant impact on the Council and also on the human rights work that the United Nations does. But obviously, the broader posture by the United States government to withdraw from its traditional role would pose a significant threat to the norm-based or rules-based international legal order.
Thank you for that. Always good to have you on the show. That's Professor Awol Allo, a professor of law at Keele University.